The New York Knicks remain active on the trade market, looking to make another massive deal after their OG Anunoby trade. And clearly, with Isaiah Hartenstein playing as well as he has been, it's leading a lot of fans to wonder if the New York Knicks are going to include Mitchell Robinson as a potential player in any deal to get a star or superstar player on this roster. But according to one NBA insider, he gives us an update on the New York Knicks and what they plan to do with Mitchell Robinson moving forward in the future. We're going to break down all of this and so much more today. So be sure you're subscribed to the channel and have notifications turned on so you don't miss a second of the new content. And now, let's get started. The Knicks make an important decision on Mitchell Robinson and his future with this team. Now, Robinson is currently out dealing with ankle surgery. He's recovering from that. He's going to be reevaluated in 6 to 8 weeks. And in his absence, we've been seeing Isaiah Hartenstein thrive and become one of the best starters we've seen for this New York Knicks team. Now, I'm not trying to take a knock at Mitchell Robinson because what he does for this Knicks team cannot be understated. When he's on the floor, what he does on the glass, what he does on the offensive rebounding boards is just phenomenal. Isaiah Hartenstein is a different type of center for this New York Knicks team. He doesn't do exactly what Mitch does, but he doesn't have to. He's effective in a different way, and he's still helping this Knicks team win and helping us thrive. So because of that, it's always going to be the case when you see something working and it's going well, you're going to think to yourself, well, do we need Mitchell Robinson? Should we have him on this roster? What if we move him? So a lot of fans and NBA insiders have been wondering if the New York Knicks will potentially move Mitchell Robinson in a deal to get a star or superstar on this roster to help them win now and this season. Well, thanks to Matt Moore of Action Network, he states that the New York Knicks are not interested in including Mitchell Robinson in a potential trade for Karl Anthony Towns. And when you look further into the report, he states the following. Notably, the Knicks have no intention of including the injured Mitchell Robinson, even if he were healthy. Robinson is out 6 to 8 weeks before being reevaluated, with speculation that he could miss the rest of the season. But he's noting here that the Knicks have no intention of trading Mitchell Robinson, regardless if he was injured or healthy. Shout out to Matt Moore from Action Network for giving us this following information about the New York Knicks and what they plan to do with Mitchell Robinson, because it's very, very clear here. If they do not plan to move Mitchell Robinson in a deal for a player like Cat, and I'm not saying Cat's a superstar, he's not a star either. He's an all-star type of player. That's the level or caliber player that he is. If the Knicks are not looking to trade him for a player like Cat, then that means it has to be a player better than Cat that's going to make the Knicks trade Robinson. So if you're thinking that the New York Knicks could potentially trade Robinson for a role player or a very solid center or somebody like that, they're not going to do it. Because if they're not trading him for Cat, there's no way they're going to include him for any other type of deal. So in my opinion, this report basically tells me that the New York Knicks feel Mitchell Robinson at this point in time is untouchable and his future is absolutely secure with the New York Knicks. Even though the Knicks have Isaiah Hartenstein, who is balling out, playing out of his mind, career high in rebounds the game before, I understand it. Without Mitchell Robinson being there, we thought we were not going to have any playoff hopes. How could we? Because Mitchell Robinson was out, could we keep the defense up? Not only have we kept it up, we've kept the rebounds up, and then we've done even more off the bench. Precious Achiuwa has come in. He's helped give us some good minutes off the bench. And I think with training and practice, he's going to get better, more inclined into that role. And then he's going to be able to back up Hartenstein even better than he has been. And that's exactly what we need right now. Mitchell Robinson was having a career year with the New York Knicks. We can't forget that. We cannot forget his impact as well, too. And I'll say one thing. OG Anunoby is the perfect fit for this team. And he looks good with the starting unit with Isaiah Hartenstein, in my opinion, because of the defense that Mitch would give you. The defensive tenacity of the starting unit with Mitch and OG in that starting unit right now, this team would be even more phenomenal on defense, even more than they are already. Not to mention that they would have Isaiah Hartenstein coming off the bench. And in that regard, he would be one of the best backup bigs coming off of the bench. And you would have him, his defense, and what he could give you on the offensive end as well too. His playmaking as well too. the Knicks would be even more of a complete team and they would make even more noise in the playoffs had Mitchell Robinson not gone down with injury. I think people forget, because of how well Isaiah Hartenstein is playing, what Mitchell Robinson does and is for this team. He is our defensive anchor. He covers a lot of these Knicks players on defense. Now imagine you have him covering our Knicks players on defense, and then you have OG doing the same thing. And then you have OG also shooting the three, spacing the floor. Could you imagine what that does for Jalen Brunson, Julius Randle, and of course, Mitchell Robinson? Because if he doesn't have to fight down low with another body, because that body is trying to check OG on the corner, that means he has more room in the paint to operate, to create, to get those putback dunks even easier, and hopefully get that double-double that we all know he's capable of. Because I'll tell you this, if Clint Capella can get you a double-double, then Mitchell Robinson can get you a double-double. It is no shot or question in my mind why one guy can and one guy can't. No question at all. Mitchell Robinson can absolutely do that. I believe he can, and I think the New York Knicks, this New York Knicks roster with Mitchell Robinson on it, would complement Mitch even more, get him involved even more. He'd probably get even more putback dunks at that point in time than any other time in his career, given the spacing and given how much room he'd have to operate. That's how much I believe in an OG and Mitchell Robinson pairing, because the defense would go crazy. That's why if you could add DeJounte Murray to this roster and you get Mitch back, talk about crazy defense. I can't think of a team that is stopping that. You can name any starting five in the entire NBA, and they all would have a problem with that New York Knicks team. Mark my words on that. But Mitchell Robinson is not going anywhere. I know a lot of you guys were worried. You were concerned. You were thinking, well, the Knicks have a lot of tradable assets. Maybe they could trade Mitchell Robinson in a deal for Spider, or a deal for this player, or a deal for that player. Nope. Not going to happen. They value him. They value his contract. They value his production, what he means to this roster. And clearly, if they're not going to trade him for a player of Cat's caliber, an all-star level big caliber, if he's not being traded for that player, then in my opinion, he is untouchable. And the only players he's likely going to be traded for are the top of the top elite players. Players like Joel Embiid, Joker, LeBron in his prime, things like that. You'd probably have to get a player like that at this point for the New York Knicks to have to want to include him and a couple of other players and picks for them to want to trade for that person. That's the type of player, in my opinion, the New York Knicks look like they want to trade Mitchell Robinson for. And if that player is not on the table, then they're not going to budge. And honestly, I have no problem with this. Why would you trade away one of your best assets, one of your best defensive pieces in Mitchell Robinson, for a player in Karl Anthony Towns who will not move the needle and, in my opinion, makes you a little bit worse? And then you have to still trade for that star player that you need. And now you have less assets to do it. Make it make sense. You can't, because it doesn't. Thank goodness that the Timberwolves do not want to trade Towns. And thank goodness that any Towns trade from the New York Knicks wouldn't even include Mitchell Robinson, which likely means the deal doesn't get done anyways. And that is music to my ears, because if you're watching this channel, if you've been watching me for the last few months, then you already know. I'm not a Cat fan. I've never been a Cat fan. He gets paid like a superstar and never performs like one. I don't want that guy in my town. Thanks, but no thanks. I don't need him. I don't want him. And I certainly don't want the Knicks to trade for him. And the Knicks retaining Mitchell Robinson means a lot, actually, because it tells you that they have their starting center for the future, which they clearly do. Shout out to Mitch. I hope he gets better, and I hope these injury concerns are in the past once he recovers, because I really can't handle another Mitchell Robinson injury when he comes back again or next season. He needs to give me a couple of seasons without injury. If he can do that, he'll restore my faith and a lot of faith that the fans used to have in him, because these injuries have definitely hurt him and the fans' faith in regards to how long he can stay on the floor for a playoff type of team like these New York Knicks. Because if you're not on the floor long enough to be capable to be in the playoffs, to show your impact, then can you be that franchise center that we need for the future? That's the questions that the New York Knicks are going to have to ask themselves. And right now, it seems like they're doubling down on Mitchell Robinson being that player. But their backup, is it going to be Isaiah Hartenstein? That's the big question because I don't think so. He's playing so well right now, he's likely going to play himself into the contract. And if he does that, I don't know if the New York Knicks are going to want to pay him as much. That means he's going to go ahead and walk to the team that's paying him more money. That's the obvious thing that most players are going to do. It's going to break my heart to see that happen because Isaiah Hartenstein has actually become a very, very good piece for this Knicks team. He is actually the absolute perfect piece for what this team needed. And we didn't know that when the Knicks first acquired him because he was struggling. But you know what? He acknowledged that he was struggling. He got better. And now look at him. Thriving with the starting unit. He was thriving with the bench when Mitchell Robinson was healthy. He has looked phenomenal. All praise goes out to him and the bag that he's absolutely going to get. I just hope he gets that bag from the Knicks and the bag isn't too expensive. But the all likelihood is pointing to the fact that the Knicks are not going to retain him and they're going to go out and seek another backup center to back up Mitchell Robinson because Mitch is their backup center for the future. His contract is too favorable. What he means to this Knicks team when healthy is just too phenomenal. So I don't think he's on the trading block yet. But if that superstar level player becomes available, maybe then you might see Mitchell Robinson become available. But what about you guys? What do you think about this report? Basically from the Knicks stating that Mitchell Robinson is not going to go in a trade for Karl-Anthony Towns. Basically signaling to me that he's basically untouchable in all trades for all stars at Cat's level. Let me know in the comments below, guys, because honestly, I would love to hear from you. But that's going to do it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, go ahead and smash that like button, leave a comment below. And of course, guys, please subscribe to the channel. Until next time, Knicks fans. Peace.